How far would you go to do the right thing? Are there certain evils you would commit if the result was a benefit to the greater good? Is it the case that the ends justify the means, or is it acceptable to watch thousands suffer because you weren't willing to cross the line in one case? Things to keep in mind during this video review of Spec Ops: The Line.
Tango down!
Spec Ops is a third-person cover shooter set in a sandstorm-ravaged Dubai. While its more standard mechanics and typical setting might have you thinking it's just another modern battlefield shooter, it's the thematic elements and mature nature of the game that will pretty damn quickly pull the rug out from under that idea.
Reloading! Keep them off me!
Mechanics-wise, there isn't too much that makes this game stand out. It's all dodge from cover to cover, firing around corners, or blind firing above your head, because you won't last very long in the open, particularly when going up against a heavily armored enemy or someone on the back of a 50 caliber turret. Should you get pinned down, watching your thin cover crumble from repeated fire via the quasi-destructible cover system in play, you can take advantage of the squad elements of the game to toss out a flashbang, or, the rest of the time, order your two squad mates to focus certain targets or revive one another. Likewise, the weapon set you'll have to work with consists of the standard fare, covering things like the SCAR, M4A1, UMP45, or AK-47, but also including some of those really modern guns like the AA-12 automatic shotgun. What, with its 20-round clip, is something you'll want to have when you take on someone in full body armor.
Billboard, cross the way. Give me the word and I'll take him out.
Lugo, take him out.
Yes, sir.
Two other mechanics stand out from the crowd for different reasons though. The first is the execution system. Knock down an opponent, which can occur by hitting them, vaulting over cover right into them, or sliding down a zipline into them, and you can proceed to finish them off in a pretty graphic way. Crush his throat with your boot, pin him to the ground and fire off a round point blank into his head, simply bash his skull in with the butt of your rifle, or watch him struggle as he attempts to move your pistol away from his face before you can fire. Why might you want to engage in such disturbing activities, you might ask? Well, simply because your reward for doing this is additional ammunition for your current weapons, and ammo is scarce in this game, particularly if you favor a certain weapon. Because really, what does it matter if you take your shotgun and choke someone to death if it gives you a few more shells for the next guy you face?
Thought we were rescuing people.
The most original mechanic in this game is that of sand. You see, Dubai is this city of opulence beyond belief. The kind of wealth you would never imagine. Seriously, they built a palm tree looking set of islands just because they could, a thing for which your favorite search engine would be appropriate. However, in this fictional world, Dubai has been ravaged by monster sandstorms, burying most of the city. So what happens when you combine the gorgeous glass of architectural wonders with the crushing weight of sand? You get additional targets that you can shoot to create death traps for your enemies, of course. All of these Spec Ops mechanics aren't without their criticisms though. First, back to that sand. Yes, it is an interesting mechanic and something I don't recall seeing before, but it's also something I hardly ever used in the game, not due to its lag, but that, frankly, I've been playing shooters for so long that the idea of expending bullets on anything but the guy shooting at me, particularly when they are as rare as in this game, doesn't sit too well. I was far more likely to notice enemies on the rooftops of glass ceilings firing down at me and simply shooting the glass out from under their feet, than to pay attention to where there was or wasn't a sand death trap I could take advantage of. But that's just one issue. There were also problems with the controls. First, it felt off in cases, where I simply wanted to peek around a corner, but instead would end up diving to the adjacent cover, or rounding the corner altogether. Basically, they were less refined than I would have liked. Part of this might be due to the port-like nature of the game, considering things like your use, sprint, and cover buttons are all the same key, since, you know, us PC gamers don't have access to anything as silly as E, Shift, or I don't know, space, to map actions to a more standard feeling layout.
Adams, door, now!
Shit, Walker, this room's gonna blow! Fucking go, go, go!
keep moving. We need to find an exit.
Then there is an issue that surrounds the auto-saving checkpoint system, sometimes a sore point in and of itself with die-hard PC gamers. But in this case it's more due to the way the game saves the state of other items in the game, specifically guns, mostly because it doesn't. What happens is this. Say you get to a point in the game where you have been fighting through the upper levels of a high-rise building, using your favorite shotgun and assault rifle. But now you must use a bridge to get to the adjacent building, which is currently being patrolled by several enemies that would surely shoot you should you attempt to cross without taking care of them with a conveniently placed sniper rifle next to you. Since you can only carry 2 weapons at a time, you drop your shotgun for the sniper rifle, take out the guards, and then watch the game autosave as the last enemy falls. Of course you pick up your shotgun again, and head on over to that other building, but, unfortunately, you get picked off by the endlessly spawning enemies, since this is the kind of game where they only stop once you advance beyond a certain point, which is also another issue. So you reload to that last autosave. No big deal, you think. I'll just pick up my shotgun again. Except this time it isn't there. In fact, not only are you left with a sniper rifle equipped, but another sniper rifle is spawned in the place where you initially picked that one up. It's that kind of lack of detail that infuriates me to no end, particularly given the fact that the game is a bit difficult at times, given the penchant for flooding you with enemies, including a heavy, in an area with little to no cover, where you're also vulnerable to getting flanked.
Stay low.
Shit! Incoming helo!
I hear it.
She's a big bitch, ain't she? Yeah, and her friends know exactly where we are.
Get ready. They're headed right for us.
More grunts headed our way! Got a moving target!
Target neutralized!
Fortunately, there are some things this game certainly gets right. Let's start with the basic premise. Sandstorms on a scale the world has never seen before ravaged Dubai, burying massive skyscrapers and new dunes. When things started hitting the fan, those who were able, basically the elite of the city, left. Those without means, such as immigrants who came over to work, were left to die in this ghost town of a city. At the same time, Colonel John Conrad was supposed to bring his men, the damn 33rd, back stateside from Afghanistan. Instead, he took his battalion and went to rescue those still stuck in Dubai, defying orders to abandon the city. Last anyone heard, he was going to attempt to lead a convoy out of the city. Then everything went silent. 6 months later, a garbled transmission makes it through the still raging storms.
Is John Conrad the greatest man I ever served with? Well, I don't know. There was this one time in Kabul when he dragged my bleeding carcass half a mile to an evac chopper. So maybe I'm biased. But the facts don't lie. The man's a fucking hero. Remember when the first storms hit Dubai? You're probably all safe and sound at home watching TV. Well, Conrad was leading the damn 33rd out of Afghanistan. Instead of coming home, he volunteered his entire battalion to help with the evac. Yet all you did was send a check. Rumor is Conrad was ordered to abandon the city. He defied that order, and the 33rd stood with him. Now, the official story's still hazy about what happened next. All we know for sure is that the storms got worse. Much worse. Last thing we heard out of Dubai was that Conrad was leading a caravan of survivors out of the city. That was 6 months ago. Then, 2 weeks ago, we picked up this transmission.
This is Colonel John Conrad, United States Army. Evacuation of Dubai ended in complete failure. Death toll, too many.
This is where you, Captain Martin Walker, come in. You, Lieutenant Adams, and Sergeant Lugo form a squad of Delta operators on a recon mission. While you expected to find a deserted city, what you encounter is anything but. At first it seems that you're up against another generic Middle Eastern enemy, until you realize you dropped into the middle of a war zone between those Dubai residents and the remaining US soldiers, and those soldiers aren't your allies. That's just one of many ways in which Spec Ops sets up the game to look like everything you've ever played before, only to turn that idea on its head. The game often reflects on these things as well, so just after you finish your first firefight with some soldiers, to which Adams voices his protest.
We're getting chewed up here!
Those were soldiers. I own guys.
It was self-defense.
Doesn't make me feel any better.
It's not supposed to. Found a doll in the OZ. No way it's left over from the old days. Diamond earrings for eyes, silk for a dress. This was made after the storm wall fell. That means children, families. I'm starting to wonder about our enemy. We're not that far from Conrad's failed evac. Could these be the survivors? Are we killing the people we came here to save? I'm not going to tell Adams or Lugo. Shit's hot enough as it is. They don't need this weight on them, too. Anyone shooting at us is an enemy, whether they got families or not.
That is just the tip of the iceberg. From here on out, things head down a dark path, one which I'd love to explore for you right now, but if I did that, then you wouldn't have much of a reason to play the game. Still, here's a basic overview of some of the things you'll encounter. You watch terrible things being done in the name of a greater cause, justified due to a lack of choice. Some of this is actually commentary on real life, such as the use of white phosphorus in combat, or another section during which, as you slaughter countless soldiers, a man watching your every move gives you the background on the people you're killing, in order to differentiate them from generic-looking guy number 27. Certainly, later on, the game even breaks the fourth wall, using messages during the loading screens or certain back-and-forth dialogue to make a point directed to you, the player, rather than Captain Walker, such as giving you the definition of collateral damage and then asking you how much your squad mates are worth, or, more bluntly, simply stating this is all your fault, after you witness just what it is that your good intentions have wrought upon this city.
I'm gonna let that one slide. He kinda creeped me out. Ah, jeez. Where's all this violence coming from, man? Is it the video games? I bet it's the video games.
Back in the game, but still on the subject of really bad stuff, the game does contain several decision moments where you're allowed a choice, but it's pretty much always a bad one. For example, you'll be faced with a moment where you must either kill the Dubai citizen who stole water, a capital offense, or the US soldier who was sent to apprehend him but instead slaughtered his entire family. Unfortunately, none of these moments seem to really impact the game, and the ones that do are the events that are written in stone, but they make for an interesting opportunity to try and define the characters as you think he would act, and a way to toss in a few more achievements.
I'd say that's the gate.
Adams, take care of the lookout.
I'm on it. Sweet dreams, bitch.
All right, Lugo, what are we up against?
An army? Give or take?
No shit.
How are we getting through this?
This might help.
Fine, set it up.
You're fucking kidding, right? That's white phosphorus.
Yeah, I know what it is.
You've seen what this shit does. You know we
We might
can't
not have a
use it.
choice, Lugo.
There's always a choice.
No, there's really not.
Inevitably, the growing weight of decisions made starts to tear our characters apart. Poor choices are made, but justified as being done so for the greater good, with the result being that you end up watching the key character, Walker, decay before your eyes, starting out as the clean knight on a noble mission, and ending tarnished by the grim reality that there are no good choices, making this game so much more enjoyable than the basic cover mechanics and gameplay flaws would seem to allow.
Turns out our favorite DJ used to be one Robert Darden. Worked with Rolling Stone for years. He was the Hunter Thompson of celebrity fluff pieces. Darden had obviously tuned out by the time we got here. But looking at his notes, it seems he'd been trying his hand at some honest-to-God journalism. Notes on the evacuation cover-up, the tragedy, the human cost. Maybe his time among the soldiers washed some of the bullshit off him. Who knows? But it's a genuine shame this, Bob Darden, will never meet his deadline. The cost of our presence here continues to grow.
What ultimately proved to draw me into this game more than anything are the kinds of elements I can't tell you too much about. It's the motifs, the themes, and criticisms aimed at all kinds of things, from the modern shooter genre to those individuals who play such games. The devs claim inspiration from Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, as well as the movie Apocalypse Now, which itself relied heavily on Conrad's work. I can't speak to any specifics since it's been so long since I read or viewed those, but the idea of starting out clean, of viewing your mission as strictly black and white, But then watching the key character make a long, slow descent into something far worse is certainly there, and something you don't really see attempted in such a way very often.
Not sure he's gonna pull through this.
It's a fucking broken arm. We've both lived through worse.
You know damn well it's not what I'm talking about.
If there's something on your mind, why don't you say it already so we can get back to work?
This whole mission is fucked. We just took out a tower full of American troops.
They didn't leave us any choice.
You didn't leave us any choice. What the fuck happened to us, man?
Nothing. We're fucking soldiers.
Oh, I see. My mistake.
I could probably go on for a very long time, perhaps in debate format, over just what it is this game brings to the table, how well it accomplishes its mission, and how valid some of its points are. There are certainly areas that could use improvement beyond just mechanics-wise, but in its current form, the game is certainly worth your time and hard-earned money. I put in around 11 hours due to hunting down all the collectibles, so you could look at that as a bit on the long side of your potential experience. Plus, I had to go and replay the last bit a couple of times just to see how the 5, at least that I could figure out, possible conclusions resulted in 4 different ending scenarios, so maybe you deduct an hour right there. A game worth $15 to $20, but that you can probably pick up around $7.50 the next time it's on sale. I actually got it in 2 BioShock games for $10 thanks to Amazon, so you have options. No matter what you spend, it's more than worth it to get this incredible experience, ranging from the more basic things like the attractive art and beautiful soundtrack, to the fine details like the way the menu screen evolves as you progress, mirroring the outward destruction of the in-game characters, and the way the game itself turns your expectations on their head. So go get it now, because Spec Ops The Line is a 10 out of 10.
Go on, Walker. Do it. Please. Why are you just standing there? Come on! For fuck's sake, Walker! Please! I'm begging you! Wait. Where the hell are you going? Walker! 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 Ah! Ah! Ah!
Walker! Walker, come in!